Hello, I'm Donna Carcacci-Rose. I'm the Executive Director of the Doylestown Historical Society. Welcome to another exciting video in our ongoing video history series. Our mission at DHS is stated as preserving and celebrating the creative and historic significance of Doylestown and its neighboring communities. I thank each of you for your support in providing this program, our tours, our speakers, and our exhibitions. Jonathan McSurdy, our interviewer today, was originally introduced to DHS when the group was still meeting in the Borough Building on West Court Street. He joined at his first meeting and has been associated with DHS ever since. Thank you for being part of this valuable and important work to keep history alive for us now and for our future.
We're here with Ron Gentile, and as part of our Salutes to Service, we're doing a video history on his experiences in Doylestown, his experiences in Vietnam, his service to the country, and growing up in South Philadelphia. What are some of your first memories of growing up in Philadelphia?
Well, I came from a large extended Italian family. My mother's mother had 15 children, and my father's mother had 8 children. So we had 54, I had 54 first cousins, and all total, somebody did a head count recently. All first, second, and third cousins in the area are about 325.
So it's a large family.
It's a large family.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of them lived in Philadelphia, and you grew up with them.
A lot lived in Philadelphia at the time, and as they got married, they moved out to the suburbs, Yeadon and Havertown and places like that. But they were still in the valley, yeah.
And so where were you in Philadelphia?
I was born and raised right there. My first 6 months of birth, I lived on top of a chicken store at 9th and Washington Avenue, which is the the Italian market.
It's the Italian market.
And then after that, my dad purchased a house on Woodstock Street, which is about 2400 block of Woodstock.
Now, was that called the Girard Estates?
No. After we were there for a while, my dad moved over, purchased a house on 19th and Shunk, which was part of the Girard Estate.
As far as education, you had said that you went to, was it St. Monica's?
I went to St. Monica's through the 8th grade, well, actually from kindergarten to the 8th grade, and then went to Bishop Newman High School for my high school, except the first year. First year I went to Valley Forge Military Academy.
The neighborhood itself, I mean, you had said that, there were different kind of groups of kids on the different blocks and stuff like that.
Everybody had a corner. And we had our own, and we would, stand outside. They had pinball machines, and we would harmonize, that kind of stuff. Normal stuff kids would do.
Right. And you had said your uncle owned, business, or I guess some of your family owned businesses in South Philadelphia, correct?
Yeah, I had an uncle that had a candy store on McKean, 18th and McKean.
And you would also mention that you were on, was it American Bandstand?
Yeah, just one time.
But that was part of kind of the culture then, and it was the culture, dancing and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, you learned how to dance before you can walk.
You have an uncle that bought some property up in Furlong.
Yeah, my uncle had a farm in Furlong. Mm-hmm. He still worked for the police department in Philadelphia, a special unit called Ferguson Squad, mm-hmm. And he had 5 acres up here in Furlong, and back then, Old York Road, which was the road, 263 now. It was a dirt road when we first came up here. And yeah, I would visit my cousin a couple times a year, and the extended family. We had our Memorial Day parade, and then we would have a big family get together at the farm, because that's the only place we can go with all the people.
So you went to the Memorial Day parade where?
Down in Philadelphia.
Okay. Yeah. And then you'd come up here.
And we'd come up here, and everybody brought their own. Everybody had their own table. Family had their own table. There was a lot of us.
So it was kind of like a family reunion.
Big family reunion once a year. That fades away as everybody gets married and move on, and times change.
So you have some good memories of kind of going up there. Okay,
Yeah,
and you did get up to Doylestown.
Did get to Doylestown briefly, not a lot. Like I said, don't remember too much of it, but my uncle told me that Chesterhova was originally in Doylestown before it moved out.
I mean, you were familiar with the area before you ever came up here.
Never knew I was coming back to the area to have a business here, yeah.
So was this kind of the middle of nowhere at the time?
Oh, at the time?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't the middle of nowhere, but it wasn't as built up as it is today.
Right.
But yeah, it was a small community, but very quaint, you know.
Well, I mean, if York Road was a dirt road, that says a lot.
It hadn't matured yet.
When did you first kind of realize that kind of Vietnam was happening?
When I was in college, I went to Pierce Junior College and graduated 2 years with an associate's degree in marketing and management. And yeah, that's when actually Kennedy was assassinated. Yeah, I was in between classes then in my second year. And it really hit home then. So
right. Well, they say everybody knows where they were when that happened.
Right, exactly. And after I graduated, you know, I got draft notice. Back then, they didn't have numbers. It was a draft notice. And they had crossed out on the paper where it would say 10 days to report for service. And they crossed it out and put 5. So there's no way I wanted to go in the Marines or the Army. So I took that, my associate's degree, and went to different services to see what kind of programs they had, you know, for junior college graduates. And everybody wanted 4 years except the Navy. So I said, 3-year program, I'll take it. How
did you determine kind of where you would be kind of in the Navy? How did you wind up serving kind of on the Pac Vs?
Well, what happened was my first tour, I was stationed in Coronado, California. There was an amphib base there. That was my first duty station. And it's the same base that the SEAL team would train at also. They made me a boat coxswain because, you know, as growing up, I had boat and I would fish and everything like that. And just by chance, it worked out. I mean, it was about a 95-foot boat with a ramp in the front, same that they would use in Second World War, landing in, you know.
D-Day and so they went down and yeah.
So that's what I did. That was the first tour over. Then I got rotated back. I had 2 weeks R&R, came home, and everybody was glad to see me. I was still there.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
So before I went back, we went into San Diego and we did guerrilla warfare training and things like that, just in case you got caught. You know,
right.
And they would do exercises where you would be in a mock-up camp. And then they would interrogate you, you know, black box, and, you know, with the lights on the box and everything, and just trying to break you down. Okay. But it gave you a taste of what you might expect if you got caught.
Right. Okay. So you came back, you did that, and is that when you started training on the Pac Vs?
I got transferred out because I took what they called practical factors. I took a test to be an Airedale. I wanted to fly in the choppers.
Okay. Yeah.
And what they did is, because I was a boat hand before that, you know, I was on the landing craft. Pac Vs was a new thing. There was 3 boats they were experimenting. It was a British company out of England called Bell Aerosystems, and the Army was testing these. So we got a TDY, which is a temporary with them in Vietnam, working up on the rivers on search and destroys.
Okay.
Search and destroy missions.
Right. And so you had said that you had done some of your training at Niagara Falls.
Yes. We trained at there's an airport there, and we would train there as far as the operation of the vehicles and everything, then take them out on the lake and get familiar with them.
And you said these things could move. I mean, they could go pretty fast.
Yeah, without, you know, we didn't have the armor or anything on them back then, but we would run them up on the river and we'd do like 95 knots and stop on a dime. It had the same kind of controls as a helicopter.
And so when you then went back to Vietnam, you were going up and down the...
I was put in this unit. We were actually flew into on a C-130 into Saigon at night with no lights because you know they would just try to bring us down.
Okay.
Then got on the bus and went to the base in Dong Tam, which was, in the jungle on the river, Saigon.
Okay. And then you were going up and down that delta, correct?
Up and down the delta. The thing with the boats were they were buoyant, and they had a plenum chamber and sucked the air in, and the boats would raise up about 6 feet, so we can go on the water and through the rice paddies. Yeah, we painted teeth on the front of it because the VC were very superstitious, and that's why we did that. And what they would do at night between 12 and 4, they would mortar us every night because they figured the dragon's sleeping, so that's the best time to try to get rid of them. So between 12 and 4 every night, they would keep us awake with the mortars.
You had told me a story before about some of the mortars coming in, and you had to make a quick break for the...
Yeah, we were working out on the line. The boats weren't out on ops, so we were just getting them cleaned up and ammoed up, because we had twin 50 caliber machine guns in the tub and 30 caliber machine guns out the side and a grenade launcher in the front.
Right.
And we were working on the line, and the siren went off, and everybody just like scrambled to get to the bunker.
Right.
And I just happened to make the bunker in about 3 seconds when a mortar hit right outside the entrance, and all the sand like blew in because it was close call.
One of the things that I had been thinking, the difference of 3 seconds, we wouldn't be having this talk.
Not at all.
And so then you also think about, say, your family, your children, your grandchildren. 3 seconds, it never would have happened, So I mean, I think that's kind of profound. With that being said, is there anything as far as your service that you'd like to kind of put down for posterity and just say, and any thoughts that you have about your service while you were there?
Well, you made a lot of friends. I mean, we stopped in the Philippines and for replenishment and things like that before we went back over, which was not that far away. And you try to make friends, but it's hard to make friends because you don't know whether they're going to be there.
Yeah.
In fact, I had some people that were dear friends that didn't make it back. Guys were in the Marine Corps, and they'd be up in North Vietnam, as sight to bring in the howitzers and everything from the battleships that were 10 miles off. You couldn't see them, but you can hear the shells rumbling over.
Right.
And they'd make it out.
You spent your 21st birthday in just overseas in Vietnam.
Yeah, in Olongapo.
Olongapo. You were a long way from home, just physically. You were halfway around the world. But two, it was in the middle of a war.
Right.
And you were 21 years old. So basically, you're still a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You grow up pretty fast.
Well, that's yes. You grow up pretty fast, and I'm sure that's obviously it's a life-changing.
Yeah, it's one day at a time. I mean, you make it the next day, and that's it. I mean, there's a lot of things we did in between. Try to keep yourself occupied, and some fun things, but a lot of different stuff. Working with the SEAL team and actually bringing them up into Cambodia when we didn't even know we were in Cambodia. And dropping off the SEAL team and then coming back and picking them up 3 days later in a different spot. And they were up there to get intel.
When did you find out that you were basically going home?
Well, I know it was getting out in the middle of August.
Okay.
And we were going on operations up in the DMZ with the 1st Air Cav. And, my day came up, August 18th. He says, here's your open orders, get back to the States the best way you can. And that was it. And so I had to hitch a ride on a Mike boat and go down to a refueling station and then get a ride over to the airport. Okay. Slept in the airport in Da Nang for like 36 hours until I can catch a C-130 Air Force jet out to the Philippines. Then after that, after I get up, climb 10,000 feet, is like, everything just goes out of your body. You're just limp because you're done.
And then you ultimately got back into the Philadelphia area.
Right.
And this was August, September of?
68. So after being home and losing all contact with any friends that I had that didn't come back through high school and stuff, eventually, going out And I remember times where I'd be sleeping upstairs and I'd hear a fire engine go by, fire engine with the sirens at the middle of the night. I'd jump up and I'd be running down the step automatically looking for some place to hide. And that's the kind of stuff that a lot of guys go through that you don't even know about.
I mean, suffice it to say, you came back a changed person.
Well, yeah, come back very mature. And knowing that life is short and you got to make the best out of it. And with the work ethics that I had from my father, he was the mantra. He was the head of the family. And you see, he worked 2 jobs and just to supply food and shelter for us, and just a work habit that I got into. I met my wife, and we raised our family in Herfield, New Jersey, down near Turnersville. Okay. I have 3 great kids and 7 great grandchildren. So they mean a lot to me. They mean everything to me.
So you got back to Philadelphia, and during this time, you had said that your father was kind of doing the more the car business, right?
Right.
And when did he kind of get the auto mall started?
That was in 1970. They started it, the conception and everything, like 68, 67. And they put the concept together out near the airport, 67th and Essington Avenue. It's the first thing that was ever tried in the country. And the thought is that you have everybody together and they were all side by side, that, you know, more people would come there, and that's what happened. Everybody had, you know, the ability to sell whatever they wanted to sell, and they were used, and it worked out because everybody did well.
So as you said, if you build it, they will come.
If you build it, they will come.
All right. And so you got into the car business, and when did you own your first car dealership?
Well, my dad was building a Volkswagen Pontiac dealership at the end of the row in the Auto Mall, and so I had the opportunity to buy the American Motors. It was called AMC at the time, American Motors Corporation, that business from him. So that was the first time that my first dealership, I was 26 years old.
So you're a business owner at 26.
Right.
Well, that's a lot of responsibility right there.
Well, yeah, it's a lot of hours, a lot of work, and you're responsible for a lot of people and their families, and, you know, the money that they have to bring home to provide food and shelter for their family.
Absolutely. And you have to be able to run the business successfully. Yep. In order to do that.
Did that for 10 years, and then it sold the business, kept the building, sold the business, and there was a Pontiac franchise that was available in Vineland, New Jersey. Mm-hmm. So I had the opportunity to purchase a piece of property down there and develop it and put a Pontiac dealership there. And in 1980, when Lee Iacocca took over Chrysler, which was, you know, having a hard time, he brought it back, and his representative, we call him a roadman, stopped in one day and said, "Would you like to take on the franchise?" I said, "Sure." I said, "What's it going to cost me?" He said, "Nothing."
Well, there you go.
I said, "We'll put the sign up, and you just buy the special tools, and you buy parts and cars as you need them." So, you know, from there, that worked out very well. I built a separate showroom for them, and Pontiac had their showroom, and that was successful.
And you had said, you know, once you were working with Chrysler, it was successful. You wound up on the QE2.
Oh yeah, there was one contest. There were a lot of contests for selling cars based on your previous sales the previous year, and I was able to in 1986 win a trip on the QE2 that crossed the Atlantic from Southampton, England, through the Canary Islands over to Bermuda, into the New York Harbor for the rededication of the Statue of Liberty, because Lee Iacocca was instrumental in refurbishing the Statue of Liberty.
What made you decide, hey, you know, the car business is changing, I want to make it change as well? Yeah,
the late 80s, beginning of the 90s, the car business was going to a lot of mega dealers. I mean, like there are today. What you see today morphed back then. Okay. And I just saw the change, and it wasn't the kind of thing that took the mom pop local car dealers out of it, and that, you know, it was not something that I wanted to do. And
okay.
And so what I did is I sold the business down in Vineland, again, kept the building, and was able to figure out what I wanted to do from there. Thought that fast food, everybody's got to eat.
Yeah.
And if I learned from the car business, if you want to, go with a franchise, you go with the big guy on the block. So I applied for McDonald's. First year they turned me down because they thought that I had too many ties to the car business, but I went back the following year and was able to get in the program.
And they don't accept just anybody.
No, you have to, and you could have money, you can not have money. It depends on the individual. They're looking for a certain type. So I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and going through 2 years of training, not being paid. They didn't guarantee you were going to have a franchise or not, but it happened after I finished my training. They offered me a few different locations throughout the country, and nothing that really that I wanted to move my whole family for. Okay. So I took a small place down in Seaville, New Jersey for my first dealership in '94. After the first year, and you can show that you can operate the business successfully and with the right quality and everything like that and customer service, then you were allowed to branch out. I chose Doylestown because it was up and coming, and McDonald's has figures for everything. Right. It showed a constant 5% increase in population and growth and everything, and it was a town that I wanted to, have my family involved in.
Okay. And you could see yourself kind of living in the area.
Oh yeah, especially being familiar from Doylestown
right.
From when I was
from
up
years
here
ago.
Not knowing I was going to be back here. I purchased it from a local franchisee who had a few stores, and he was looking to get rid of a couple. So I bought Doylestown and Plumsteadville, and then a few years later, I bought New Hope. And then a few years after that, 2015, I built Warrington. That was a brand new store. So right now I'm operating with my daughter, who's my partner, and she's an owner-operator in her own right. She's been with the company for almost 20 years now.
So it's been 20-some years, and as you said, it's been relatively consistent. You've seen that growth year over year.
Right.
Okay. Even through the pandemic.
Pandemic was different era. It changed things drastically. I mean, our lobbies were closed, but Doylestown had a double drive-through. Because when we rebuilt the store after it burnt in September of 18, it burnt to the ground. We were able to move it up. We took care of the playland, took that out, moved this building up 14 feet, and we were able to put a double drive-through in, and that made all the difference in the world. So it's a brand new restaurant, and pandemic came along, and we were able to service the community.
Well, I mean, that's obviously the lobbies were closed, but because you had the two drive-throughs, it kind of worked. And you do a lot more business now.
You just have to adapt. You have to service your customers. You have to make them happy. Sometimes that's hard, but you do what you can do. And enjoying the things that I do with Doylestown, I mean, being involved with certain service organizations, like I was on the board of the local Ron McDonald house. I served with the YMCA on their board when we were going through the initial expansion and everything.
Well, can I ask you a question there?
Yeah.
When you first started the YMCA, it was a much smaller footprint.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it was a quarter of the size that it is now. It's grown tremendously.
Exactly.
So what did you do there?
I was on about 5 different committees, involved with the finance committee and interviewing banks and engineering companies. And with the background with McDonald's, it helped out. So it was a good experience.
I know that you did that, and then you also served Lenape Valley.
Lenape Valley Foundation, yep. I served on that board for about 4 years. Yeah, and I'm also a corporate member of the Michener. I served, I'm a Rotarian. I was a Rotarian way back when I was in Vineland, too. That's when I first...
Didn't you say you got the key to the city?
I did, from the mayor. I got
Okay,
the key to the city, or
you got the key
mayor
to the
of
city,
Vineland.
yeah. Okay, all right.
Because I was past president of the, they had a service group called the Exchange Club. And I worked my way through the chairs. And we would, I'd have my kids, like we had a certain time on Thanksgiving in the morning, we would deliver hot meals to shut-ins. So my kids would come with me down there, and they would help go around, and they were little tots.
And I know Rotary, I know the big thing that Rotary does specifically in Doylestown is the car show.
Yes.
And you participated in that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I work on the car show.
Okay.
I'll tell you, one of my favorites is the Memorial Day Parade. Driving in the Memorial Day Parade is one of the highlights. I think that's one of the unique things that Doylestown has.
Doylestown Historical Society.
Yeah, a new member of Doylestown Historical Society.
What brought you on board here?
You.
Oh, jeez. Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, no, I remember the ringing of the bells on 11/11/11.
Yeah,
so,
that's exactly it. Yeah.
I didn't know that much about how to get on the board, what it was involved, and once I found that out, I really enjoy even though I've only been with them like 2 or 3 months. I really enjoy it.
One of the things that through McDonald's, you've obviously sponsored, baseball teams, all that kind of stuff.
Because of my grandkids being involved in everything in sports, whether we're doing supporting the Girl Scouts or whether we're supporting teams with buying the jerseys and having banners up and on the in the field, but mostly about supporting the team and make sure the kids have their uniforms and everything.
You said that you serve in Doylestown alone about 1,000 people a day.
Just Doylestown store, yes.
Just Doylestown. So you're open almost every day of the year.
Except 2 days.
Okay, so close to 360 days a year, close to 23 years now. But that's a lot of French fries.
A lot of French fries.
A lot of French fries.
One thing is 80% of the people buy stuff from us. 80% buy fries.
You also have given out Happy Meals and the little toys with the, okay. And you had said something interesting that McDonald's is one of the largest toy.
No, they are the largest toy retailer in the world. We sell, through our Happy Meals, about 2,000 to 2,500 just in Doylestown a month. Toys. Okay? Times that by 15,000 stores throughout the country.
It's a lot of toys.
A lot of toys.
You have also employed close to 1,600 people.
Yes.
That's kind of the math I did. And I can imagine...
Just in Doylestown.
Just in Doylestown. And I can imagine a lot of those individuals, it's their first job.
It's their first job, and some of them go through high school with us. Some of them go to college, and then when they're home on summer break or whatever, they'll come back and they'll be in a position where they're like an assistant manager or a swing manager, what we call them. So yeah, they work their way up. It's not for everybody, but we take kids 14 years old. We start them out at 14 years old if they want to come work for us. You got to teach them how to sweep a floor and mop. You have to teach them all that kind of stuff, which is good training for their future. There's a lot of CEOs and presidents of national companies that started with McDonald's. You don't even know that. You don't realize that. It's a good training ground.
Payroll alone that you have just in Doylestown is someplace close to, over 23 years now, close to $33 million in payrolls.
Yep, at least.
And a lot of money that is earned in Doylestown, it stays in Doylestown. So I mean, there's a large economic impact that McDonald's has that you've helped to kind of drive because you have been successful. One of the things that I thought was, a lot of the kids that you're employing, they may be teenagers, they might be right around 20, 21 years old. At that point in time in your life, you were dodging mortars in Vietnam. It's different, and you figure it's by about 3 seconds. As you said, none of this would have happened. These are some of the things that I wanted to cover. This is why I think it's so important to not only kind of talk about this stuff, but get it down for posterity and just hear it from you kind of in your own words.
I just want to thank the Doylestown Historical Society for giving me the opportunity to tell my story, mainly for my children, my grandchildren, and someday their children.